What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Josh Robinson Show. I am, of course, Josh, and this is the show about literally anything. And last week, I kind of introduced you to the world that is going to be the Josh Robinson Show, and what you can kind of expect. And last week, we kind of did a little bit of everything. And that's what I kind of want to bring to the show every week. And, you know, I got a lot of cool feedback on this show and on what people liked about it, what people didn't. I'm just glad that it's just kind of moving in a nice direction. And I can already see, like, with this show, there's really with anything, there really is no end goal. But I mean, I can just see where this is going. And I just know that this is the outlet where I can talk about really anything that doesn't fit anywhere else, like I kind of said last week. But super big thank you to everybody that kind of, you know, shared their feedback and everyone that took the time to listen to the first episode last week, because it's just going to be a lot of fun. It's just going to be a big ball of everything that's kind of going on here. I got some cool stuff planned for today. We're going to have a guest later on in the podcast, which we'll get to soon. We're going to get to recommendations later in the podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about everything. Really, last week was like, if I could describe last week in a nutshell, it was just like, it's a nice little intro, a little bit like taste of everything, you know, that you'll get in a vibe of a single episode. But now I can just do as I please. I don't really need to explain. I don't really need to do anything like that. It's just going to be fun. I have to talk about something. Last week I went on a Headlock Talk. Those boys are great, Tanner and Steven. Great dudes. I went on After Dark. We just had like a nice free-for-all chat about kind of anything. We talked some wrestling, talked some other stuff as well. But last week I brought up on their show, and there was a reason I didn't talk about it last week, and I'm leaving it to this week, because I kind of wanted to let anyone that wanted to listen to Headlock Talk, which should be a lot of people, by the way, anyone that wanted to listen to that, get my thoughts out on that and let it process for a week. Last week I talked about The Lion King, and, you know, The Lion King's kind of everywhere at the moment, in the sense of just, it's everywhere. We've got, everything's about it, it's dominating the box office. We've got Beyonce and Childish Gambino and Seth Rogen all in it, and it's just, it's just everywhere at the moment. It just seems to be the talk of kind of everything, and I've made it very clear that I've never watched the original Lion King. Not because I was old enough when it came out, I just have never watched it. I've seen snippets of it, and, like, you know, I know the music from the Lion King, and I kind of know, you know, what's kind of going on. But I've never watched it in its entirety, and, you know, everyone's just, like, talking about it just around the town, and just you friends, and online, it's a lot about the Lion King, and I'm just literally venting out on here. I can't relate to any of it. Like I said, I kind of know what it's about. I think everyone does. And I know the music, but beyond that, I mean, people are talking, I mean, like, oh, it's, you know, people that have seen it have been like, oh my god, like, here it is, and it's so different from this bit, and, you know, it's all this, and blah, 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 and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So if there's anyone out there listening to this right now that is in the same boat as me, and is just like, I cannot relate to any of this, then I'll be your best friend at this time, in these hard times where everyone's kind of seems to be relating to the Lion King, and we're just over here on our own little island, like, I don't know what is going on. There's nothing more beyond that than I wanted to talk about in that respect. I just wanted to get it out there. I'm not angry at it. Let it do it. I'm glad it's a thing, and whatever it may be, but, I mean, I just want it to just, the fad and the phase and the fun of it to be over, so people shut up about it. But, like, remakes and stuff in a sense is, I mean, no one will let anything die anymore. Just like, it seems to be the thing with video games and movies and whatever it may be, is just, something was great 20 years ago, so let's remake it. Especially with Disney. Disney milk anything dry. Look at Star Wars, that franchise is getting milked, and while we're all grasping onto it and being like, yeah, this is great, we know that the quality is going to, at some point, it's just, I don't know, whatever it may be, but it's just, especially Disney, like to milk everything dry and just make sure that they get every single dime, which, as a business, you know, in a business sense, you can't hate on that. It's just more so like, oh my god, like let's just let things rest and come up with some original ideas. And like I said, even in the world of video games, look at Crash and Crash Team Racing and Final Fantasy. Just everything is getting remade to make some more dollars out of this. And again, business wise, you can't hate on it. It's just nothing is original anymore, and it's just, I guess it is what it is. But yeah, I'm not going to dwell on that too much because I'm going to get into today's chat. I have a guest on today's show, and we're going to have a nice little fun chat. So let's go. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get into today's chat here on the Josh Robinson Show. Guys, I would just like to make sure that you know to go and check out Brainbuster Radio every single day. There is a new show from 8 different podcasts on Brainbuster Radio. It has everything you need to know with wrestling today, from WWE to New Japan to AEW to the Indies. Everything is covered on Brainbuster Radio. That is 8 different shows across 7 days: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We have you covered. Please just type in Brainbuster Radio on your favorite podcasting listening device and you'll find Brainbuster Radio. So make sure to check out Brainbuster Radio for all of your wrestling needs. Now let's get back to the show. So I am sitting here with, I guess the only way to describe this person is the one and only. There is only one... There is only one Mags. There is only one Mags. But I'm sitting here with Mags, of course, virtually. Mags, first and foremost,
hello.
How are you? How are you on this fine? I guess it would be. Is it morning?
Yeah, it's Monday morning.
Yeah. What a way to spend your Monday morning. What a way to start the week by talking to me.
That's the best start of the week, being called the one and only. Although it's linking it to Ricochet a little bit, and I don't stick my fingers up my bum, so there is that.
My mind was going in so many other places, but his ass was not something I was thinking about. But hey, I am now. Well, that's probably the one and only compliment. See what I did there? The one and only compliment you're going to get from me, because if you don't know me and Mags banter, then you probably should see our replies on each other's tweets, because we give each other a bit of crap.
It's all love. It's a facade. Yeah. We put it out there in the ether, but really back behind the scenes, we've got much love and respect for each other. Well, I know I've got a lot of love and respect for Josh. I think the work he does is amazing, and I'm really proud of how quickly he's come on. So yeah, it's a love fest from me for Josh. I think he's superb.
Well, I mean, I'll listen to that all day here. Pat myself in the back, but it's all an echo from me. I've always said that about you. You're very just respect is the word I have for you the most. It's just because.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's just there's no really other way to put it. I just respect what you do. You're very good at what you do. But anyway, that's not what we're not even gonna get into a jerk circle yet. Maybe later. We'll see where the show ends up. But last week it was the first episode of the Josh Robinson Show, and it was just, it's an hour of whatever, of just wherever the kind of conversation goes. I've kind of told you briefly what I kind of want to focus on today, but wherever we kind of go with this conversation, we will. But the reason, first and foremost, before we even get into the topic, is I was going to do this on my own, really. Mags, I was sitting here and I was like, I could easily talk about this on my own. I have enough to cover, but I was like, I need someone that I can bounce off of, and preferably someone that's not to age you, Mags, but a little bit older than you.
Someone old as fuck.
Yeah, basically. Someone just that's just a dinosaur that that just drew on his stones when he was a kid, and that's what he would play with when he was a kid. But I just wanted someone that we've kind of lived in two different eras almost, in the sense of like what we grew up with and where we're kind of going. But the basic thing that I want to talk to you about today is, it's a wild world we live in terms of just technology and entertainment, and the world has grown. It's growing rapidly. I think too fast than we can even keep up with, at least in some regards. But television, Mags, growing up, television was, for me and you, just, I'm assuming, very prominent in your childhood?
Yeah, definitely. It was almost like a babysitter kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not that I'm trying to disparage my parents, but it was just that one thing. You come home from school and you straight away you want to watch the kids shows that you liked, and you always felt like it was a treat if you were allowed to stay up a bit late and watch a show that was on at late at night. So yeah, TV was a big thing for me as a kid.
Yeah, me too. It's just always something that you're just like, yep, all right, it's television time, and it's just something to, whatever's going on in the day, it's just that's your time to watch television. But, we're going to go on the kind of like process of it here. But television in this day and age, is it wrong for me to say that it's very different to what it was when you were a kid, when I was a kid? It is just very different. Television to me is it's just. Is it, in your mind, is television maybe like a little bit less prominent in maybe a kid's life now? Just in the terms of what a TV, like who actually watches a television anymore? There's so much, everything seems to be now. Like everything's on demand or everything's on the internet. Like, is there still that television? Is it still something that's just relevant?
I think there is some relevance there, but it's definitely been eaten away by the likes of YouTube and Netflix and like services like Hulu and stuff like that. Like you said, it's all a demand now. Like kids nowadays, they want to watch something, they want to watch it instantly. We had to wait till 5 o'clock for our shows to start. Now you literally just go onto YouTube or onto Netflix, find what you want to watch, and you can happily sit there all the live long day and watch it over and over and binge it. I mean, binging was never something that we'd ever had in our. I mean, when I was a kid, we had 4 channels. That was it. We had no cable, no like satellite or anything like that. It's literally 4 channels, and you watched it when it came on the TV, or you recorded it on a VHS. But now, but now it's just everything is at your fingertips. I mean, I'm on my laptop here. I could literally fire up Netflix and put on whatever show that it is I wanted. And for me, growing up from where I've come from, it's mind blowing. But for someone of your generation, I mean, to age you, being the young pup of Brainbuster, for someone of your generation, you've almost had that your entire life. YouTube's been a thing since you've been around, and it's mind blowing the difference.
Yes and no. Well, even for me, I mean, YouTube. When did YouTube start? I don't even know exactly when YouTube started. It was the mid 2000s, maybe later 2000s.
I'm thinking it's earlier than that, but
is it?
But I'm not saying you particularly. I mean, the generation that you're in.
Yeah, no, I get that. But I mean, in the sense of, even Netflix really has only become like, a mainstay and in the powerhouse that it is in maybe the last 7 or 8 years. Like Netflix, now versus Netflix when it started. I think it started about 10 years ago. Like 10 years ago, I certainly wasn't watching Netflix. I think most of the world really didn't really know what to expect when it comes to online content. Except for like YouTube and stuff, which was really, pumping through. But even 10 years ago, it seemed like television ratings and television in general, like, okay, I've got to watch this at 8 o'clock. There was really no, at least here, I don't know what it's like over there, but at least here there was no, how you have TV channels, how they have their internet, on-demand content where you can go and watch it when you want after it's aired. There wasn't really that even 10 years ago. It's certainly been in the, the last 10 years where everything's kind of evolved. But when we talk about, growing up, and you kind of mentioned the fact that, you'd have to wait until 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock for your show to come on and be like, okay, I've got to, watch commercials and I've got to do this, and you've got to kind of plan around that, and that's when you would watch it, because that was really, unless there was a replay on, that was really the only time you could watch it, other than, like you said, recording it or whatever it may be. If you're a kid right now, though, like you said, I've got a younger brother. He's 9 years old, 10 years old, something like that. And he's literally got his iPad and he can watch YouTube while he's playing his Xbox or whatever he may be. And everything's at his fingertips. He's never had any other kind of, way, that's just what's normal to him. When it comes to us, we've had that other side of it where we've gone, this is television, and now we're moving into, an internet age and stuff like that. If you're a kid right now, does it take away the, I guess with kids now and even us, there's a certain patience level that we don't have anymore because everything is now. Do you think kids now are maybe a little bit too, not guarded, maybe not entitled, for a lack of better term?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I have I've got a friend who's got a little boy. He's about 3 years old, and if she takes the iPad off him when he's watching something, he goes absolutely mental. And it's almost like like you said, it's entitlement. Because everything's there at the touch of a finger.
Yep.
There's no having to wait for things, so there's no patience built up. I mean, when I used to enjoy the wait for a show, like waiting for it to come on, the excitement building up, and now, like I said, you can literally go on Netflix and binge a full season of a program, and it just doesn't feel the same. And even as an adult, I've felt myself like becoming a little bit entitled. For instance, any programs that me and the wife used to watch, and we'd have to watch on a weekly basis. Now, because we can have Netflix or we've got Amazon Prime and stuff like that, if the shows are not all in one season, we're disappointed. Yep. Because we can't watch them all again and again, or we watch one episode, and if we have to wait for the next one, it's like, I don't want to wait a week for the next episode to come on. Is there any way of like watching it all in one go? And yeah, it's really has bred a sense of entitlement, like you said. I think entitlement was the perfect word for it.
Yeah, I think I'm the same as you. I as like a young kid, you'd have to. Okay, here's a good example. As a kid, before I was like a teenager, it was like The Simpsons was a big thing. I think a lot of kids, at least my age, and I'm sure you've watched The Simpsons plenty of times, Mags, but The Simpsons used to come on at 6 o'clock every single weeknight, and you would watch The Simpsons, and that would be the only time I could watch The Simpsons, right? So I'd have to wait all day, I'd go to school, come home. That would be my half an hour where I could watch The Simpsons. Now, essentially, I could just type in The Simpsons on my computer and be watching The Simpsons whenever I want. So, again, there is no patience for waiting for something. Do you think, you're talking about binging. Binging a show is like, look at Netflix, how they release... Very rarely do they release something on the, weekly basis. It does happen there and there, sparingly, but it's here's a whole season, and you binge it in a whole weekend is just watching a television show. Do you think there's an aspect of, especially the world we're in, very involved, is the only thing I watch on a weekly basis is WWE content. That's the only thing that I wait, you have to watch every single week. Other than that, I'm binging everything else. Do you think the way we consume TV now, the way we consume programming, do you think it's wrong?
I wouldn't say it's wrong. I think it's just the evolution of streaming services and having this programming at our fingertips. I think essentially it's a good thing if you can have as much information or entertainment at your fingertips. That's a good thing. So it was always going to be that way, I think. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad thing. It's different, and it just seems weird for people like us who've had to go through this period where we've had to wait. It's going to get to a stage where literally every program is at your fingertips, and you don't have to wait for anything at all. That it's just changes in generational technology, I suppose.
Yeah, it does. I think saying that 15, 20 years ago, if you were to, be sitting on your lounge watching television, was there ever a thought in your mind? Or was there that thought that kind of went, hey, in 20 years' time, in 30 years' time, in 40 years' time, I don't think this is going to be the way we consume entertainment. Did you see the internet kind of taking over before it even really happened. I mean, you could talk better than me on that because I was a kid as it was kind of evolving. I mean, I was in that stage of that was just normal to me, and then as I got into a teenager, the way I learnt things was, on the internet. With your sense of the way did you see that coming?
Not as quickly as it has done. I think over the last decade or so, we've made so many strides in the way information is passed through the internet. I mean, when I first the internet was a big thing when I was in college, and it was the most basic. I look back now at the GeoCities and the Angel Fire websites that we thought were so cool back in them days, and they're absolutely gash. And the fact that I could watch an 8K HD movie over the internet is just absolutely mind blowing. But it's just so good to see how far we've come and how far it's going to go. It's going to get to the point where we're literally watching holograms, or we're going to be having glasses with screens built into them so we can watch everywhere and anywhere. I'm a very much, I like technology. I'm trying to be on the bleeding edge of technology, and I'm so excited for what's coming down the pipeline. I think it's a good time to be alive.
Yeah, I agree with you in that, in the sense of just technology is really, it's rapidly, you always see something new and you're like, whoa, what the hell? Like, how is that even possible? And then it's possible, and then before you know it, you've got it in your living room and you're using it. Like, there was really not a time, I mean, not that every single person has this in the world, but you look at like virtual reality gaming and the goggles for your phone and all that. Like, you really wouldn't think that virtual reality is a possibility in someone's living room, but it is now. And it's just where the kind of world is going. It's kind of really is rapidly growing. But if you say you're a television producer and you're creating a television show, and you're going, you go, okay, I want this show to be big. I think it's got potential. Are you going to shop it to a TV network, or are you going to go straight for Netflix? Because in this day, is it really worth going to maybe, not in the sense that it's going to be, television's going to be gone anytime soon, but in this overall long term of things in, 20, 30 years, it's a dying market.
Yeah, I can understand your point. I think it's going to take a long time for TV to die, because the TV is run by advertising. Let's face it. And as long as those companies are paying the dollars, they're going to still produce content for that channel. But with the amount of money Netflix are spending, it's definitely a viable option. And we've seen Netflix's original series absolutely flourish. I mean, there was talk of stuff like if Bird Box was released in cinemas, it'd be a record breaker because of the amount of people who sat down and watched it. So I think it's not so much killing TV off; it's providing a viable option. And at the end of the day, as in everything, we're predominantly wrestling podcasts. Wrestling competition in wrestling is very important. It makes the products better, and hopefully it gives TV companies the kick up the pants to make their products better. And we kind of are seeing it, really, because like you said earlier on, each TV channel now is having their own like on-demand streaming sites. So they are making the moves into that space. What will be interesting is if these TV companies actually start taking their products off Netflix and starting to put them on their own services. We're seeing that a little bit with the Disney. There's rumors that Disney are going to be taking all the Marvel movies and all the Disney content off Netflix to set up their own like streaming service. And for me, that's
happening. That's like November 24th, I think, is the launch date.
Exactly, and but for things like that, for me, I can almost see the writing on the wall where everybody wants a piece of this streaming pie, and we're going to end up probably paying more for all these like macro streaming sites than we did for the TV packages that we paid in the in the past.
Yeah, and we think it's all cheap, like it's $10 here, it's $15 here, but I mean that adds up quite fast. But I'm kind of glad you brought up Disney and stuff like that. I have a list in front of me. I googled like the top 10 biggest entertainment companies in the world, and it's all like Comcast, CBS, DirecTV, Dish Network. Netflix is number 5. All the rest is all like cable-based programming and big studio like Fox and stuff like that. Disney's in there as well. But Netflix is well, at least in my opinion, I think it's pretty, I think you'd pretty much agree that Netflix is the biggest company of that kind in the world. I think Netflix is pretty much everywhere in the world now, with just in terms of size and outreach and just programming, Netflix I think is the leader in streaming. But you brought up Disney and other companies making streaming for their own kind of stuff and pulling shows off Netflix and stuff like that. It's not like we haven't seen stuff being on Netflix and pulled before to go to some other streaming site, because I'm sure all these streaming services are battling it out. Essentially, it's probably a boxing match at this point of paying companies money to to be on certain streaming sites. I don't even know exactly how it works. Is that would be, I guess that's how it would work. Is they pay or something, or do shows pay to be on streaming services? I don't even know.
I would assume it's a licensing fee, and it's however many views they get, they pay a certain amount of money.
Yeah, that would be how it works. But anyway, Netflix and stuff like that. You talked about Netflix original shows and how much. I think that brings in a lot more. Do you think that's the main kind of driving point of a streaming service, is having original series?
Well, when Netflix was first a thing, first thing that I knew of, the attraction was all the programming that I already knew, the ability to binge a full series of whatever program I wanted. But I think Netflix have played this really, really cleverly, because they've integrated their own programming into like programming that's already well known, and now a lot of the programs that I actually really enjoy are Netflix originals. Yeah. So they've almost kind of, we're going to lose this programming that you know and love from NBC or ABC or CBS, but we've got this program that you love that only we produce, and you have to stick around for that. So I think they've seen the writing on the wall. They've seen that these companies are going to start like diving into this pie of streaming services, and they've took the steps to make themselves unique almost.
Yeah, well, Disney's really, I mean, there's other streaming services like Amazon Prime and whatever, but I mean, in terms of, specifically for one kind of, of market, of one kind of brand, Disney's really the first one to kind of step up and say, hey, we're going to take stuff off Netflix. And, what would probably make them a big chunk of their money. And there's a lot of Netflix on Disney, a lot of Disney on Netflix, I should say, but Disney starting their own kind of thing. I mean, Disney is entertainment juggernaut that just has a lot of stuff that sometimes you don't even realize is Disney branded, and then you're like, oh, it's Disney. I mean, you look at Disney, they bought like Star Wars, and they bought a lot of Fox shows, and Disney really do own a lot of stuff. But in the case of Disney starting their own streaming services, is this the kind of catalyst for other companies, like different media companies, to start pulling stuff away from Netflix and really branching out of their own, or even getting in on the kind of the Disney side of things? Because I think the Disney streaming service is probably going to be very big. Yeah,
I think it'll be. I think it will definitely be able to compete with Netflix in terms of size, because, like you said, they've got Star Wars, they've got all the Disney shows they've done, all the Disney movies. Then they've also got Marvel. So Marvel is an absolutely huge pull, and you can guarantee that a lot of Netflix users will leave if Marvel leaves. That's as plain as the nose on your face. I think a lot of companies may hold back and see where this takes Disney in the next few months and years to see where. To see whether there's money in it, but there's already rumblings of Fox setting up their own so they can stream, like I said, The Simpsons all the time. And I can't remember which TV company owns the rights to Friends, but there was rumours that Friends would be took off Netflix, and that would be the big selling point for their digital streaming service. So I think we're going to see that fragmentation of these streaming services where we're going to be paying $7 here, $5 here, $10 here to get this what we get now, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, Friends is a great example of, I think it was pretty well known that Netflix paid a lot of money to keep Friends on. Oh, there was some kind of deal between, I think it was, I don't know who owns Friends, but whatever company owns Friends. I mean, that is we talk about like original series and stuff, but there is also that aspect of Netflix. I mean, to be able to turn on Netflix and be like, okay, easy viewing is a show like Friends or whatever kind of those sitcom type shows. So that is a big driving point of these streaming services. In the terms of Disney, you look at everything you just listed, from all the Disney Channel shows to Marvel to Star Wars to Pixar. Everything they cover so many age brackets, from kids all the way up, families to people of the older generation, because Disney covers so much time. Disney is, I mean, like I said, Disney is an entertainment juggernaut at this point. Everything seems to be Disney related, and not only that, Disney just, I mean, business-wise, you can't blame them, but they milk everything dry. They make sure they get every penny out of their stuff. You look at anything they make. Look at Marvel. Look at Star Wars. All the remakes. Look at The Lion King right now. I mean, they've remade The Lion King, and it'll probably break some kind of record in the box office. I mean, it seems to be a worldwide phenomenon that everyone's kind of watching The Lion King. But I mean, it is a thing, like remakes and stuff from Disney, and they know how to make their money. They aren't stupid, I guess you would say.
No, definitely not. And there's a reason why, again, taking it back to wrestling, there's a reason why WWE don't see wrestling companies as their competitor. They see companies like Disney as their competitor, because although WWE produce wrestling, they still produce that kind of content where everything is licensed and everything is aimed at a certain demographic. I would happily get Disney Plus, even as an aged gentleman, because it's going to be so much quality content. I mean, I know we get a lot of the stuff on Netflix, but like you said earlier, the stuff comes off Netflix and comes back on Netflix, and you can't always rely on being able to watch what you want to watch. But I love watching Disney movies. I think they're some of the best movies ever made, and I would happily pay for it. But then when it gets to, would I happily then pay for Fox? Would I happily then pay for Warner Brothers? Would I happily then pay for Miramax, Touchstone, stuff like that? It gets to a saturation point. Well, I should have just stuck with the original package, because I'm paying more now for the same amount of content.
Yeah, where do we draw the line? I guess that's the next thing, is where do we go with, like, there's always going to be there's going to be, you look 10 years from now, there's going to be so many streaming services, and it's like, oh, I want to watch Friends, I have to, pay for Netflix. Oh, but I want to watch something on Disney, then I have to pay for that. There's no camaraderie between it all now. Where do we kind of, draw the line with it all? But, I mean, I think that's just where the world goes. It's like essentially TV channels, and they're being on at the same time. But I guess it's all one price back then. But that's just how we're going. But we are essentially in the wrestling world, and I did bring up the fact that really the only thing I watch on a week-to-week basis, where the only reason I have cable, is because of wrestling. That is literally the reason I keep paying the bare minimum for any kind of paid television service, is because is wrestling. Because there's nothing else that I sit down and watch when I'm told to watch. I watch it when I want to watch it. Is there really much? Again, you do you still sit down and go, okay, on 8 p.m. on a Wednesday night, I'm going to watch this show? Or is it, do you pretty much get all your content, other than wrestling, when you kind of want to watch it?
To be honest, me and the family were actually discussing this very, very recently. In Britain, I don't know what it's like in America, but in Britain you have like a basic channels that anybody can get as long as you own a TV and you've got an aerial. You can get
TV.
Yeah, so we have like I think there's 5 of them kind of channels. But if you want like more channels, you pay a premium, like a subscription service. And we go with a company called Virgin Media, and they're almost like an all-in-one kind of company. You'll get your phone, your internet, and your TV all through this one company. Now we were actually got a letter from them saying that the price was going up, which it does like every year or so. And we actually sat down and looked at what do we actually use this service for. I mean, we're paying £100 and maybe £30. I don't know how much that is in Australian dollars, but we're paying about £130 a month. And the only thing we actually use from it is the internet. We don't watch a lot of TV. Me and the wife literally watch 2 TV programs a week. That is it. So
Heck, that's a lot of money. I just did the conversion. It's 232 Australian dollars.
That's mental. That's absolutely mental to watch 2 TV programs a week, because we get everything. We stream everything. We have Spotify. We have Amazon Prime. We have Netflix. We don't watch these programs, and we're basically throwing money at a company for literally nothing. Where we could just go and get standalone internet and a phone, probably for a quarter of the price.
Yeah, so, I'm the same. I'm the same. Don't worry. I pay a little bit less than that to get the same amount of stuff in. Yeah, it's just wrestling that I watch on it, really. And at the end of the day, I could probably find other ways to watch that. There's other ways to do that, legally, of course. But it is really weird that I genuinely don't watch anything anymore when I'm told. Like, every night I sit down and it's Netflix, or we have a streaming service called Stan over in Australia, and it's, essentially the same thing but different shows and different movies and stuff. And, they're my 2 streaming services. I find everything on there, and if it's not on there, it's YouTube. If it's not on there, I'm watching the WWE Network. Because, I mean, hey, WWE Network, when did that launch? 2014?
Yeah, I think we got it about a year later.
Yeah, us too.
Because there was an issue with a TV company. WWE was in a deal with Sky, where Sky sold the pay-per-views. So when the network come around and you was only paying £10 a month for that, but you got the pay-per-views included, Sky was not happy. So they've actually seen the deal out now, and Sky and WWE have parted ways. And I think WWE they go on to BT Sport, which is another kettle of fish. We're not happy with BT Sport.
Oh shit!
I'll dive into that. That's not a problem. Diving in with Josh on the Josh Robinson show. Yeah, basically, the main reason why we've got our TV package is me and my son, we watch UFC, and to get the TV package, you need BT Sports, because that's where UFC is shown. But to get BT Sports, you need the highest level of package. Right, so what's started to happen now is we're already paying a huge premium to get this package, and now BT Sports are starting to put some UFC events behind another paywall, behind a box office. So there's been a lot of kick-off about that over here, where you're basically being double dipped to pay for these UFC events. But now WWE has gone to BT Sports, so it's going to be the same kind of thing with WWE events, where they're going to, if there's any UK specific events, they're going to be behind another paywall, which I can't say I'm happy about. And if that the Fox deal in America, when NXT is going to looks like it's going to be on a regular show, if that happens over here, there's going to be no point in having the WWE Network, or there's going to be no point. You're going to need both streaming services to be able to get all the content, which And it just annoys when you know that the future's coming and it's going to cost you a lot more than it does now.
Yep. I mean, yeah, it is, I've heard about that kind of stuff that was going on with Sky, because as long as I've known, when I was a younger kid, because Raw didn't air live here in Australia until like 2013, so we got it the day after, for the longest time. So when I was a little kid and I was a naughty kid, I would bootleg Raw, and it would always be Sky. It would always be Sky Sports, so I'd always get all the the UK television commercials and all that. So, Sky was just what I known for, that part of the world getting WWE programming. It was always Sky. So, when this whole deal came on, I was like, whoa, that's a pretty big deal, because it's, as long as I can remember, it's been on that. We used to have, so the channel that airs Raw, SmackDown here is called Fox 8. That's what it was. It's just like where we get all of our WWE content, and we didn't get the network, I think it was about a year after, for the same reason. Because, the box office channel was showing pay-per-views, and they weren't happy. They're like, we're going to lose all this money. You have, licensing deals with us, blah, 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 blah. So we got it, and it's about $15 here, because it's like Australian dollars is crazy, and it's always higher. So $15 here. But when it comes to the network, and in terms of like streaming, really, when you look at it, WWE were kind of ahead of the curve a little bit. And, hey, we're not going on anyone else's streaming service, because I'm sure there could have been a market with putting WWE programming on a streaming service like Netflix, integrated within something else, so then people can, more eyes are on it. But Vince McMahon being Vince McMahon, say whatever you want about him, he is a good businessman, I think. For the most part, he has, rocky past, but hey, for the most part, I think he knows what he's doing, and they were really ahead of the curve and say, no, this is our own streaming service where you get all WWE programming and you don't really have to go to another place, except for their weekly television, of course, is wherever you are in the world. It's never on the network. But when you think of something like that, and, we talked about Disney and all of that kind of stuff, and everyone else getting their own streaming services, do you think WWE were really ahead of the curve?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when the talk of the network was coming up, and I was reading about it in the dirt sheets. I was excited about it. Yeah, it was definitely something that I was incredibly interested in, and I've been a day one subscriber for WWE Network, and it's mainly because of I've been a wrestling fan for so long, and there's so much content that brings back great memories for me. So yeah, I think they absolutely were. And what's kept WWE like ahead of this curve is the fact that they haven't gone onto other streaming services. I'm 100% positive that they have had the option, or they've had offers to go on to the likes of Amazon Prime and the likes of Netflix. But the fact that they've controlled their own content and they've kept it on the network, yeah, fair play to the WWE. Great businessman. And the good thing is they get to then control the price. And obviously we've heard talks of now that there's going to be a tiered system for the network. So yeah, business wise, yeah, you cannot fault them. And I think WWE in general have been like that. They've always been a kind of like forward thinking company in the sense of business, maybe not in the sense of wrestling so much, but definitely in the sense of business. Yeah. They've always been the kind of like that break the barriers. I mean, the amount of WWE licensing now is absolutely unreal. I mean, when I was a kid, you'd never see WWE products in a supermarket, and now you go and everything has got a license, and it's basically free money for WWE, because they don't even make the product. They literally just say, you can use our name and our brand and throw us a kickback payment, and it's absolutely amazing business sense. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, because I think what WWE's toys are all made by Mattel, I'm pretty sure. And I mean, Mattel make, from my understanding, at least when I was, playing with toys, Mattel was a pretty good company to be with. They were kind of everywhere. You'd go to like a Target or whatever, and Mattel are there, Mattel and WWE getting on board with Mattel. I mean, it's just, again, they are ahead of the curve and they're forward thinkers, but, the network, I mean, it's hard to argue. I would kind of debate it with anyone. The network is pretty much a success. I think no matter what happens from this conversation forward, it's been a success for the last 5 years. It's a pretty big machine, and it's kind of expanding, and we just got an update and everything like that with it, and all the original shows that come with. That's the driving point for me with the network and with Netflix and anything like that, is the original stuff that I can find. That's my go-to for any service, is that they have a lot of original programming, and the network has a lot of that you can't find anywhere else. Netflix has a lot of that when you can't find anywhere else, and you look at the cultural impact that Netflix really has with original series. We kind of touched on the fact that you watch a lot of original series, Bird Box and I know a lot. 13 Reasons Why was a huge one in the world. Yep. It kind of took over the world in a sense of everyone had kind of maybe not seen it, but they certainly knew what it was about and, knew the impact that it had. I mean, shows like 13 Reasons Why and Stranger Things and everything like that, it really is a worldwide thing, because when you look at television networks, it's different everywhere. We talked about the fact that, hey, it's Sky for wrestling, and it's Fox in America, and it's USA Network, and it's whatever here, and whatever it may be. I say I watched 13 Reasons Why. You go, oh, the Netflix show. That's the same everywhere in the world, and there's not really many companies that is like that. That's the beauty, and that's the way we're going in the world, is that it's all Netflix. There's no difference between anyone in the world. That's very smart, because they're just putting that Netflix logo on something, and it's, to be honest, Netflix could make any kind of show at the moment, and it's going to generate them some kind of income. Yeah.
I think for me, the best way I can describe it is when 5-10 years ago, we would have to, if we wanted to watch a show, we would have to plan our day or our schedule around that show. Mm-hmm. Whereas now the big difference is, for instance, me and the wife, we like Orange is the New Black. The last season has literally just dropped, and instead of having to like make time to watch that show, we can look at our schedule and say, right, this is where we can actually watch it. So we've got that flexibility to watch it when we've got the time, rather than having to make the time to be there when that show is aired. And that to me is the mind-blowing thing, that we can now fit that into our schedule rather than have to change our schedule to fit that in.
Yeah, it's like you can watch it at 4 a.m, you can watch it at 2 p.m, you can literally watch it whenever you please, and it still is, ratings are a different thing in this day and age than they were, 10 years ago. I don't think television ratings really, I think they still matter to a certain degree with any kind of show, but I don't think they're the driving point of, pitching a show to another network or something like that, because of Netflix and stuff and whatever, what numbers they're buzzing and generating on a streaming service is probably more important than, how many people are watching at once. There's still going to be things that are just television, driven, especially with sports orientated things, like, everyone watches, whatever it may be, the Olympics or something like that, and it's, television, and people are genuinely watching that at one time. But outside of sport and, the odd thing here or there, whatever it may be, it is really when you want to watch something, and it is amazing. It is amazing where we are now, even from, when I was watching as a kid to now, and I've kind of been in that generation, I guess, where I think, in a sense, the generation I'm in is the kind of the starters of where we were going, and then the kid, much younger kids now, like 8 and 9 year olds, are really the ones that are going to kind of, soar it away. But we were the kind of first generation to grow up with a phone in our hand and, a tablet and a computer at the age of 12, 13 years old. And a lot of, it was new. And now it's just the norm. Like, I seen a 6-year-old kid at work the other day with a phone. And I'm like, whoa, this kid's
it's mental.
7, but it's normal.
I mean, I want to say 17 before I got my first mobile phone, and it was literally just a phone that you could ring and text people. It was not like a smartphone at all. I like I said, I see kids with phones and they glued to the screen, and it's mental to see that. It's almost like childhood is eroding almost. If you understand what I mean.
I know what you mean.
I mean, the big thing when I was a kid was as soon as you got home and you finished watching whatever TV programs you wanted to watch, you wanted to go and play with your friends, and you don't see that a lot really anymore.
Well,
people are more.
Fortnite.
Well, yeah, they play with their friends, but virtually, I suppose. Yep. Yeah.
Everyone's just. Of course, I grew up with video games, and I was definitely that kid that would like to stay home and play video games. But at the same time, it was still a sense of not everyone was doing that. It wasn't until I was kind of in my later years as a teenager that everyone was just like playing Call of Duty. Call of Duty was the game. I can literally say that I am a little bit older than kids now, because when I say Call of Duty, some kids are like, what the fuck is Call of Duty? Like, I'm like, oh, you guys aren't playing that anymore? Okay, sorry, I'll pack away my Xbox 360 now. I mean...
Old man Josh.
Old man Josh, yeah. That's going to be a thing now, isn't it? I'm just going to get really old really fast. Hey, we were having that conversation on Twitter the other day. I was like, I'll never age. And now I'm just realizing that I'm in fact a little bit older than teenagers now. And I'm like, I'm not a teenager anymore, so...
It's what it does. It catches up to you. You think you're invincible, and then one day you just think, fucking hell, I'm old. Yeah, I am old.
Music is the biggest thing for me at the moment, is because a lot of the music that I listen to, like, when there's, much younger kids, like, there's kids, that finish school and they work, and then I work with them, and, like, I can sense that I'm saying some things and they're like, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Like, I work with a kid that was born in 2002. I'm like, oh shit, that's, you were born in 2002. That's quite the time. Like, he's a 16-year-old kid, and I'm like, oh, I'm saying songs that he's like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, oh yeah, right, you weren't born when, TLC were a thing and Destiny's Child were a thing, so I can't talk about that anymore. And I'm like, uh-oh, it's slowly happening. I'm aging. I mean, I'm still a kid. I'm only 23. Calm down, everyone. I'm still that youthful kid. But my older brother, he's 7 years older than me, so he's 30 now, and he's like, yeah, it'll happen. Don't worry. You'll just be one day. You'll be like, I'm not going out anymore. I'm just gonna sit home and I'm gonna have a sore back. And I'm like, oh shit.
But even then, you were talking about music and. I know the topic is about television, music essentially has gone the same kind of way. I mean, when I was younger, if a song or an album was coming out, we had to literally go and buy it from like a shop. We had to go and buy the CD to be able to play the album. Now you go on your phone and you've got billions of songs at your absolute fingertips. It's amazing to see where technology has gone in such a short space of time. I mean, we have Spotify. I've got Google Home speakers all over my house. I would have not have ever imagined having that when I was a kid, that I could put a song on in my bedroom and it's playing downstairs in the living room. It's absolutely mental, absolutely just crazy.
No, I agree. Music has evolved so much in every aspect. I mean, that has evolved so much, but I remember getting an iPod and I was like, holy shit, I can put 8 gig of music on my little block of iPod, and I was like, oh my god, like 8 gig of music. That's, really in this sense, it's, we probably have way more than that located on our computers and Spotify and that, but I was like, holy crap, you walk to school and listen to something out of, I had a what were they called? Like a Discman? A Walkman? What were they? Yeah, like when you put the disc, the ones with and you plug your headphones in, it was like a portable CD player, and you're like, oh shit, like I can take this anywhere I go. And the batteries would die in like an hour or two. Like they really wouldn't last that long because, it's running a CD, but like an iPod.
And you had to hold it very, very gently so it didn't skip.
Oh yeah, yeah, and oh man, it was the worst. But when you think about it, they're not very practical. You couldn't put them in your pocket. Like you couldn't really do anything with them.
I obviously go back to a generation before you, and I actually had the Walkman where you put tapes in it,
Oh
and
man.
to solve the problem of putting it in your pocket, it come with a belt clip which you just clip onto the side of your
Oh
belt,
my
and you
god.
and you'd have the headphones, which were the jankiest headphones known to man, with the foam, like bright orange
Oh.
foam covers over them. Yeah, looking back, it was horrific, but back then, I was the coolest kid on the block.
Oh yeah,
And
I
then,
remember when I finally got an iPod. Like I was one of all of my friends had an iPod, and Mum wouldn't skimp out and buy me a dang iPod. I finally got it, and then they had the newer iPods, and I had the older iPods. It was it was miserable, but it was. Now we just like you said, I can essentially just get out my phone and go on Spotify, and pretty much
yeah,
90% of the world's music library is located on a Spotify or an Apple Music or whatever device streaming music service you use. You pretty much got the whole world at your fingertips. It's pretty crazy just to see where streaming in general, whether it's television, movies, or music, or gaming, or whatever it may be, is because that's a thing now. And you can stream games from your PS4 and play them stream. You don't even have to download them anymore. Like, that's so weird to me. It's like everything is moving in so rapidly in that direction where it's just now you don't really own anything anymore. Like, remember DVD collections when you'd have like movies or TV series in a DVD? Now it's just like, nah, it's stored in the cloud, and that's where I go to get it, and I just need an internet connection and I'm good. It's the same with Spotify and everything like that. Of course you can download and use it for offline, but I mean, I don't do that. I don't download my music on Spotify. I have it all just ready to go at my fingertips. And you brought up Google Homes and stuff like that. Like, I've got an Alexa coming. It's in the mail, so I'll be saying, "Hey Alexa, play this song," and I don't even have to use. Like, I genuinely don't even have to use my fingers anymore because I'm that lazy. I just want to talk. Like,
yeah.
it's crazy.
But that's how it's going. But you did mention a point there about not owning the content, and for me, that's one of the big bugbears of that streaming phenomenon. I like having physical copies. I like having collections. I like knowing that I own something. I was on the Five Nerds Go podcast not long ago, and we were talking about Google Stadia. And how it was building up and becoming like almost like EA Access, where you stream the game. But the thing is, you never own that product, and you're paying this monthly fee, say $10 a month or whatever, and you don't own that product. So you could basically rent that product for $10 a month for 6 months, but then you could have spent that money and actually bought the game that you wanted, and you'd own it forever, essentially. And you're not subjected if they take it offline or for any reason it goes down, you can't access it, but you've paid for it. Whereas if you've got a physical copy, you can use it as and when you want. And that's the kind of, it's almost like you're paying to rent things all the time rather than paying to own things.
Yeah, it is. It is weird. Even just owning, like, when you talk about video games and stuff like that, in the terms of owning a physical copy, a disc that you play, put into your Xbox or your PS4, and then downloading a game, it's like I can't take that game anywhere I want with me. You now have to install a game onto your hard drive. Remember having a PlayStation 2 or whatever, an Xbox, anything that kind of wasn't the, now generation of gaming, is you could just take the disc and put it into anyone's Xbox and you could play it there and then. You can't do that anymore because you have to install it. You have to, you might have it downloaded. It has only one license for this PlayStation. You can't take your save files anywhere else. It's like, you really, at the end of the day, you're owning something to kind of, but you're, at the same time, you're like renting it in a sense that you paid to own it, but you play it with restrictions almost. So that is the bomb of it. That's the bummer of it, is that what do we really own? And we don't really own anything anymore. Like, we don't own anything. It's just everything's on a cloud.
Yeah, and when you're married, you absolutely don't ever own anything because the wife owns the absolute lot.
I'm smarter than I sound then, because that's why I got married, isn't it? Oh, man. Well, Mags, thank you for taking the time to talk today, because, again, it was short notice, and, hey, I just appreciate it very greatly, and it was just a nice chat to talk. Listen, you and me both, I can speak for both of us with how much we adore and appreciate wrestling, and we can talk about wrestling 24/7, but it is sometimes nice to just, we other than bringing up the network and that, but we really didn't talk about wrestling.
No.
And that's good sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely is. And when you came up with the idea of this show, I said to you that I think it's a really good idea. I think you've really took to podcasting so well. I mean, you did your one year wrestling reverb show recently, and I left you a comment, and it really does like ring true. You watching you grow and watching you flourish. It's for an old man like me. It's heartwarming seeing you do so well, and I can honestly see you being a big force in the podcasting game. You've got that passion and you've got that willingness to learn and improve. And yeah, I think you're doing really well, Josh, and I'm really proud of you, lad.
Oh, look at you. I mean, the biggest thing that I can take away that is that yes, you are old, and I'm kidding. Thank you. You know how much I appreciate the kind words. It does really. I do really just. I love what I really do, and I really am. I care about everybody within the community, and just I just want to help, and I just want to get better at this. It's like I always just am trying new things. I'm always trying to adapt to new things, and that's the kind of beauty of doing something like this. And I just watch and learn from everybody else. That's essentially what I'm doing, is just watching you and watching the people at Brainbuster and then beyond Brainbuster, and just watching and learning. I'm just trying to adapt to the environment that I'm in and trying to do the best I can. But I appreciate the kind words. It sits very tightly to my brain and to my heart. So thank you very much for the kind words.
No problem.
And where can we find you on Twitter? I mean, at this point, everyone should be following you, because you're a name that, and in the words of, I've got to try and do my best. Shout out to Wilf here, motivated and confident. He always does that, and it makes me laugh every time. I think that's become like a thing for their show. It's just like he always says it, and he just says it with that same tone. And I'm like, yes, Wilf, just own it. But where can we find you on the social media lands?
Yeah, it's interesting. People have made that comment before about how I've got like this following, and I just think I'm an idiot from the north of England who just loves wrestling and just exactly. But if you feel like you want to follow me, you feel like I'm interested enough to follow, you want to watch me go off on someone, have an argument on Twitter, you can follow me at DEJ Courtney, or just search for Motivated Confident Man.
Oh, hell yeah. If Wilf listens to this and he gets to the end, he'll probably appreciate that a lot, because hey, side note everyone, I'm recording this on a Monday, and I was just listening to Unscripted, as Mags was as well, but that cracks me up every single time he says that, just that Wilf way of saying it, and he just says it every time, and I'm like, oh man. The first time he said it, I was like, what was that? And then it was stuck, and I was like, yep, this is working, and this is going. But yeah, my God, it's just... What a wonderful little niche we've created in this weird world of Twitter. It is really weird that we've kind of put our little like, hey, we're here, and it's just like, I don't know, it gives us all. At the end of the day, it gives us all something to do, because I mean, I get bored all the time, because I'm just a person who has to be doing something every minute of the day. Like, I don't like having downtime. I hate it. I'm just like, nah, I got to do something. I'm just that person. But again, thank you, Mags, for coming on. And we haven't actually... This is the first time we've chat in a little while, really. We haven't... Yeah,
it is.
I mean, we chat every day in like a DM or something like that, but we really haven't had a...
Yeah, because you've been banned from Badlands, so there's no likelihood of you being on that show for a chat. So yeah, it is. It's been a while. It's been a long while.
I mean, I mean, you know what's gonna happen?
I've got plans.
Oh, yeah.
I've got plans for you on Badlands. Don't you worry, Tiger.
I'm like the big build-up guest here. You've had like a bit of everyone.
It's going to be horrific. It's going to be horrific. I'm going to build it up so much, and it's just going to be like a damp squib. Just one word answering every one on purpose, like an 8-minute episode.
Or you finally ask me and I decline. I'm like, nah, I don't want to. Screw you.
Block.
I'll just block you on all social media. I'll be like, nah, you're not having it anymore. You have to find me on Netflix when I'm a big star one day. Man.
Just hanging out in your Twitch chat, like crying. I used to know Josh before he was famous.
I'll just time you out. I'll get I'll get one of my mods to do it because I'm too famous and well known at this point. I just get one of my mods to. I'll be like, ban that guy. Time him out. See ya. All right. Thanks, Mags, for hanging out.
Not a problem. Thank you for.
I want to thank Mags for coming on today. It was a great chat about just the streaming world and where this world is really going with technology and streaming and whatever it may be, and it was just really fun. So thank you, Mags, for coming on, first and foremost. I love that dude to death. I said it in the chat, very respected voice, a very respected dude. So just really fun to have Mags on, but the only other thing that we need to get to this week is, of course, my recommendations for the week. If you weren't here last week and you don't know what I'm recommending, I recommend a song, a podcast, and a TV show or movie. It'll be more TV than movies because I'm more of a TV guy than a movie guy, but hey, we'll see what happens. But I'm going to give you 3 every single week to go through and, really I just want you to know what I'm just going to get it out there, But these are my recommendations for the week. We'll start off with a TV show now. People that follow me on Twitter know what this is going to be 100%. But the last week, I have been on a streaming service. Hey, not to plug the chat I had with Mags, but I had a streaming service. It was on Stan, it's called in Australia. And I'm going through and I'm like, oh, look at all this Disney. I'm scrolling through, I'm like, holy shit, here we go. The TV show I'm recommending you this week is one Lizzie McGuire. It is a staple of my childhood. It is a staple of just that generation's childhood, I think. And I love a good old show that you can put on and it still holds up today. I still get a giggle out of it. I still like to watch it. Very nostalgic. I don't know how long I'm going to watch it for, but it's just something to put on. Essentially, I'm just sitting around doing other stuff anyway, and it's just on in the background. But man, that theme song, quality stuff. I love that. What a show. Lizzie McGuire. Everyone find it wherever you need to find it, and watch some Lizzie McGuire, because I'm sure if you're my age, it'll put a smile on your face, no doubt. The song I'm recommending this week is actually one of my all-time favorite songs. Now, I've made it very clear that I love Paramore. I'm not, I'm very vocal about that on Twitter. That's my all-time favorite band. They have my favorite song, but another one of my, I have a few different kind of favorites up there. It's actually a song by Michael Jackson. It's called Earth Song. Everyone should know what Earth Song is. It's a fantastic song. It builds and builds and builds, and it just, it gets me every time. Go and listen to Earth Song by Michael Jackson. If you haven't listened to it, I couldn't imagine you hadn't, but I mean, hey, if you're listening to this and you haven't listened to Earth Song by Michael Jackson, go out and check that out and just turn it right up. It's great in the car. Oh man, it's just a song that just builds and you can really feel it, and you're like, yeah, this is I got to the end and I got to the moment. It's like, man, it's a great song. And of course, podcasting wise, it's just natural for me to recommend this week. Go and check out Badlands Pod with Mags and Paul. It's a great show. They do Mount Rushmore style. There's really no podcasting in the wrestling world that sticks to, a Mount Rushmore style every single week. And that's what they do best. And it's a fantastic show. It's on Brainbuster Radio. I'm giving love to my Brainbuster people. But yes, Badlands Pod. Go and find them. It is a fantastic podcast. But that is going to do it this week for the Josh Robinson Show. Episode 2 is in the can. It's in the books. It's got the stamp. It's done. Thank you for checking it out this week. Please go and rate this podcast 5 stars on iTunes, or give us a follow on whatever I say us. give me a follow on whatever social media platform you have going on. Josh Robinson 00 on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook at that handle. Josh Robinson Host on Instagram. Josh Robinson 00 on YouTube and Twitch. I am building my Twitch like crazy lately. It is really becoming a nice little it's here. I'm finally finding my groove with streaming, and I'm really starting to really enjoy it. I'm doing some serious stuff. Doing some Battle of the Content Creators, if you've seen all over my Twitter. That's coming up this week at the, latter part of the week. And it's all happening. I'm just in a really happy spot with it all and really just enjoying it. But thank you for listening this week. Make sure to check out Wrestling Reverb every single Friday on Brainbuster Radio. You can check out Ditz vs. Josh every single Saturday. Just type Ditz vs. Josh in your favorite podcasting streaming service or device or whatever you want to call it. You'll find that. It's all happening over here, guys. Just get on the train, you're at the station. Just get on the train and then let's go for a little journey. You might want to, get off at a stop. That's fine. We can go all the way. It's up to you. Until next week, I will catch you guys next time on the Josh Robinson Show. Peace out.